The clerk will call our last witness.
Sharon Pinkenson.
All right,
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Please state your name, your title, and provide us with your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. I am Sharon Pinkenson. I am the Executive Director of the Greater Philadelphia Film Office, and I want to apologize to all of you, Councilman, for my tardiness in being here
No, we
today.
understand you were engaged in something very important, and we thank you for making it over here and testify.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration. I unfortunately was not able to hear the testimony of any but this last panel. I do want to respond, however, to the last speaker's comments, because I was very disappointed to hear that she was not aware of programming for independent filmmakers and services for independent filmmakers. The Greater Philadelphia Film Office is unique among film commissions because we have a program called Greater Philadelphia Filmmakers, which has been in existence for my entire tenure. Which I'd rather not state how long that is, but it is 25 years. And in Greater Philadelphia Filmmakers program, that is a pure nonprofit side of what we do. We serve the local indigenous film community, or at least try to, with everything that they need, and those services are all free. We have to fundraise to support those services. So for example, every month, we have, or perhaps maybe not in July and August, but every month we have free programming, usually in the last few years at the Prince Theater in the Black Box, where we provide educational and informational programming in various different areas. We have hosted for just as long the Set in Philadelphia screenwriting competition, which has a $10,000 top prize, a $2,500 prize for the best Set in Philadelphia screenplay by anybody who lives in the 5 counties, or the $10,000 prize is for anyone who lives anywhere in the world that writes the best Set in Philadelphia screenplay. We have a student prize. And we are just added this year a prize for the best screenplay by a non-white, diverse screenwriter, and we are incredibly excited about that, and that is a $2,500 prize for that best screenplay. We are as far as I know, the only film commission in the world that has a full-time multicultural affairs director. That's what we call the position. Whose mission it is to engage the multicultural filmmaking community and those who would like to be a part of that, to be connectors, to provide programming. Many of our filmmakers programs are just for diverse filmmakers, women filmmakers of all different types and categories. LGBT, how to be able to get on work on a set. So we are quite devoted to the filmmaking community. We do not own a studio or equipment, but certainly when it comes to locations, we do that as a matter of course, and it's all free. And all you have to do, I invite you all to go on film.org, which is our website, just to get a sense of the vast programming that we do, all of which is free to filmmakers, and we will help them find those locations, and if we're asked, we will certainly do it. We don't know about projects that we don't know about. Wow. We certainly shoot a lot more independent films than we do major productions. We work with Temple University and Drexel University and all the universities. and colleges and schools in the area. We have an internship program. I've very involved, certainly with Temple and Drexel and UArts and many of the other schools. And our interns have gone on to have great careers in the film industry, and all, love Philadelphia and come back and try to bring films here. I know that you spoke, there was a lot of conversation about the Pennsylvania film tax credit. It is the coin of the realm, indeed, in the film industry internationally. And Pennsylvania had its first tax credit in 2004. The first tax credits in the United States were in 2003 in New Mexico and Louisiana. The following year, 2004, 5 states got the tax credit. We are, by the way, the only country in the world that does not have an office in Washington, D.C., does not have a national film commission. So when Canada first started luring film and television projects to Canada, they did it through their Canadian Film Commission, their National Film Commission, and then the provinces added on additional incentives. And then other countries around the world did the same. And basically, the United States was late in the game because there was no National Film Commission. So we film commissioners had to do it state by state, legislators by legislatures. And it is the reason why the tax credit programs from state to state are very different. They also, please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me interrupt for a second. I mean, so let me just to bring you a little bit up to where we are and then just ask you a very direct question.
Please.
Thank you. So we did hear from Representative Paul Costa, who's introduced the bill to take the film tax credit from $60 million to $150 million, and he has explained some of the problems, along with Michael McCann, president and founder of MVM Associates, treasurer of the Pennsylvania Film Industry Association, about the fact that there are limitations to our tax credit, and the fact that the tax credit can be borrowed against, which leaves less money in the future. We have heard from Jeffrey Rotwit, sitting behind you, Sun Center Studios, and from Neil Samuels and Steve Leshinsky from SAG-AFTRA, as well as Jim Whalen, business agent trustee for Teamsters Local 817 from New York, and Joseph Jafowski, is that right? Okay, he says it's kind of okay.
Yes,
and as himself being a grip, Jeff Rush, who you heard from, S.L. Sawyer, Susan Landau, and I introduced a written testimony of John Ford from IATSE Local 52 Motion Picture Studio Mechanics out of New York. And so really our question that we'd love to hear from you, what is the state of filmmaking in Philadelphia today? And in summary, it seems that there has been an increase and then a decrease, and right now we're struggling in part because of the tax credits, but other witnesses have also identified some other things that the city could do, from a loan bridge program out of PIDC against tax credits.
we have that program,
yes,
Councilman.
and
Yes.
increasing it, from 4.5 million to a higher level, those type of things. There was testimony that there is not as good organization and infrastructure in Philadelphia as in maybe Pittsburgh, and there's issues about the ability of some of the younger, my interpretation, younger production folks, and not enough work, and a challenge in terms of their union, the organization, the leadership, and we seem to be somewhat of a disorganized, not uniform, not kind of like on the same page type of city, are we getting, Pittsburgh is saying that basically they have a lot of projects coming in, and in fact, the lack of tax credits, they've had to turn a lot away, turn away from the work that's there. It sounds to me like they're using up a lot of those tax credits. Whereas here in Philadelphia, I know we just had the Untouchable, in Sun Center Studios. So how are we doing? What's good? What's bad? What should we do better?
Well, I would make a couple of comments. One with regards to the labor situation. We have a very different situation than they have in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has all their own local unions. So they have their own IATSE local, and they have their own Teamster local. So their biggest interest, those locals, is Pittsburgh. That's the most important thing to them. We never had our own, we had our own Teamster local. We had Teamster Local 107, and then they lost that work a few years back, you may remember, Teamster Local 107. And the Brotherhood of Teamsters came in and gave that piece of business to the New York Teamsters. The New York IATSE came down back in the mid-90s and took over Philadelphia. In fact, they took over Connecticut and then New Jersey and then all of Pennsylvania, with the exception of a 50-mile radius around Pittsburgh. So that leaves us in a position where we have major union leadership whose primary consideration is not Philadelphia. This is a challenge that we've had for a very, very long time. And we've talked about it. I understand that the union leadership says that individually we'll say that we're not that much more expensive than Pittsburgh. And so the IATSE will say that, and the Teamsters will say that. But the reality is, if you are a businessman, which a filmmaker, or a business person, pardon me, which a filmmaker will want to come and access the tax credit, because when it is available, it is a great program. They will, if they don't have to be in Philadelphia, or they don't have to be in some particular location, they will compare budgets. They will do budgets for multiple places and multiple states, because you can shoot in a lot of places, and ultimately Philadelphia is going to be more expensive. I think the idea which I heard about a Philadelphia incentive is an excellent idea. I think that is something that we should address, and if City Council would support that, that would be tremendous, because we need that extra push. We also, I think the idea of having a statewide as well as Philadelphia incentive for diversity is very, very important. Governor Wolf recently announced his diversity incentive, or I would say his diversity push. I got a call from the state film office last week saying that the governor's diversity incentive meant that we had to, on our website, be able to identify who in our crew who wished to be identified, or anybody who had listings or companies, whether they were diverse or not. And I said, we've been doing that for a long time. We already do that. We're Philadelphians, we do that. So we will now add, however, we did not put on there you couldn't check off LGBTQ, but we will add anything that they want to do that identifies diversity, assuming that the individual wants to label themselves in that way. So, but we think that, as an example, we had the film Creed. That film had an African-American director. It was very important to him to shoot in the city of Philadelphia, which is a very diverse city, and to have a crew that looked like Philadelphia and had a more diverse crew. And it was extraordinarily successful. And the crew was a great crew. And we got to see a lot of people that we hadn't seen who are local, who we hadn't seen working on sets before. And if we can incentivize that kind of diversity, I think that that will set a new standard for Philadelphia, and it will be a great marketing tool for us as we use in other areas of business. So I would love to see that as an incentive, and I would highly recommend that. Does that answer you?
Yes.
That answer
I mean, that does.
I would also, if I could add, I know you've heard that the film tax credit, it runs out very quickly, and in fact, it does. $60 million by the time we actually get it is down to $40 million, is about all that we have left in a given year before. We don't get to give out more money in advance unless one of our projects, we're able to take advantage of that. There are a lot of issues with the regards to the tax credit, and we are working with the legislators in Harrisburg on that. We certainly hope that our elected officials in Philadelphia will be interested in picking up the phone and calling their legislators, in Harrisburg to help us. But we have a number of productions that are talking about coming, and some have submitted applications. The question is, will the State Film Office in Harrisburg approve those applications, or are they more interested in approving applications in Pittsburgh? Because, frankly, the political power right now in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is not in southeastern Pennsylvania. So any help that we could get from City Council and the Mayor's office would be very, very welcome.
I had mentioned that I had met with Speaker Turzai this morning. In fact, just got a text from him. So I do very much hope to speak with him about the tax credit. I will say publicly that we tried to get DCED and the film office to respond to us over many weeks. And I think we got basically 3 or 4 word answers from them. So I just don't know that we got much rapport with them. I don't know why. I actually called Secretary Davin, and he was traveling, and I got a very nice person, and got basically the same thing. I don't know. It doesn't leave me with the kind of a feeling that there's much interest in Philadelphia, at least from whoever's in charge over there. Great concern to me. Fortunately, we have elections, and we can call them out, as I am doing now, for basically not giving us even written testimony of a paragraph or two. Now, I even got written testimony from John Ford from New York, and the Teamsters sent someone from New York. We can't get a paragraph from the State Film Office. I hope they do better by us in the future. But we will be on this. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
appreciate your interest.
Yes,
Very
thank you.
much
Well,
so.
that concludes our hearing. I thank you. I have a list of things I think we can do and begin working. Thank you so very much, and especially Sharon, for all your work and coming down here. I understand the extraordinary circumstances. I know you got to run out, but thank you so very much. And I will conclude this hearing to the call of the chair.